Once again, I am here with Brett Thomas. I am BBP. We are seeing Esports Petopia versus Brotherhood of Spacers, where we have two kind of interesting things that are both the opposite of each other. Esports Petopia has brought a double Rattlesnake Navy Scorpion, all fit with cruise missiles, by the way, an Osprey, let that sink in, a Stork, 2 Jackdaws Jaguar, and 2 Raptors. BTT, tell me all about Brotherhood of Spacers.
Brotherhood of Spaces have brought their wild card. They brought out Rabisu with double Absolution, double Curse, double Nurgle, double Hecate, Mauler. Ooh, this is an interesting match. The Brotherhood of Spaces have brought a lot of long-range damage in the dual Absolutions and the ramping damage of the Nurgles. Unfortunately, they've brought both the curses, and the curses do a lot of newts and a lot of control. Unfortunately, they are against Rattlesnakes and Navy Scorpion ships that do not require cap to fire guns. So those curses aren't going to be as useful, but they're still going to apply a lot of tracking disruptors for this team.
And something we were talking about while the analysts were analyzing is how this would have been we think that this would have been a stomp for Esports Petopia if they had brought rapid heavies on their battleships. But because they brought cruise missiles, a lot of this is going to go down to whether or not Esports can call the correct targets and whether or not they have enough application to actually do any damage with those cruise missiles. Because I can tell you right now, those are not ever going to kill Rabisu.
Yes, whereas rapid heavies with double Rattlesnake and Navy Scope is a huge amount of damage. That is 3,000 damage being applied pretty well against Absolutions, which are battleships, especially now that the Rattlesnakes and the Navy Scorpions have missile guidance disruptors on them, which means the cruisers are going to apply even worse. Even with target payers on this curse, they're not going to apply as well as they should.
And we're seeing a little bit of an interesting thing where this curse is taking a lot of damage. The reps have started landing on it right here. Esports has dropped sentry drones as well, and T1 sentry drones are notoriously bad at pretty much anything, especially on an untracking bonus hull. So they're going to try and take this curse down. I'm not really sure if they're going to be able to. It looks like that Esports Petopia they made the correct guess, and they brought missile guidance disruptors, which they might be able to do pretty solid here. I'm not really seeing any damage coming out of Brotherhood of Spacers yet, though.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is we see them holding back and just getting rid of those drones which are on top of the Curse and the Rabisu, because I'm seeing Vespers sitting on top of the Rabisu, which can be very, very bad if the Rabisu gets jammed. So they're just holding back, getting rid of all those EC drones that have just been YOLO'd on the Rabisu, and getting ready as we see a Raptor just burning right into the middle of the team.
And I actually see something very interesting here that I was not expecting. The curse of Brotherhood of Spacers is tracking disrupting the curators from
Yeah,
the rattlesnakes.
that is especially because there's nothing else on that comp that you can really apply TDs to. What on this comp uses turrets? The only thing that can be TD'd is the drones, and especially Rattlesnake's drones, which get a huge bonus to damage. Applying TDs to these drones is the difference, which is stopping all these curators from applying.
And the ironically named chess player decided that he wanted to burn straight into a giant blob of people and die in a fire. Uh, Maybe not necessarily the best call ever, though I do understand that he was probably trying to get something webbed down enough for these rattlesnakes to track. They are doing a pretty good chunk of damage to this Hecate, though, of Nicholas, and I don't know if he's going to survive, actually. He just, okay, well, yeah, there he goes.
Unfortunately, the Rabisu is just permanently repping a Nurgle and did not have time to deactivate his newts and swap over to the Hecate. So then I only saw the first hit of armor reps, not newts, sorry, applied to the Hecate when he hit low structure, which is just too late. The second Hecate is getting shot now and still isn't receiving any reps. This Rabisu of Sasha is just doing nothing to keep his team alive.
Well, it looks like he might. He does need to take some reps off Nurgle unless those are rep drones. He's trying to do a little bit to this Hecate now. He might be able to hold. Nope, there he goes. And also the Mauler of Medsus is pretty hard tackled, or he was for a little bit. Though it looks like they've swapped all of. Looks like Esports has swapped all of their tackle over to the Absolution of XXNIM XXXX, and that they might have him slowed down enough to be able to apply.
Yeah, but if you're seeing the Nurgles are going absolutely ham, trying to get on top of this Navy Scorpion and apply their ramping damage. But the moment they get in range of these battleships, you're seeing webs, grapples, newts, scrams, and the Nurgle just goes from going 2k a second to stopping dead, which is the only time all of this damage can be applied. You're seeing some of the curators being dropped, and a lot of the larger drones go back out. I'm seeing wasps out now that some of the bouncers, or now that they've got under the curators' guns.
And wasps are interestingly one of the highest tracking heavy drones, so they should not have any issue whatsoever hitting this Nurgle, especially with how slow it is. But Nurgles are assault frigates; they're quite tanky, and they are under Rabisu reps. So the Rabisu maybe had some trouble with the Hecates. I think he might have been a little bit slow on the uptake on them, and it is armor reps, so they do take a little bit to apply. But these Nurgles are not going down at all right now.
The best thing is that the Nurgle still has its ADC. So especially if these things hit low hull or they hit high hull, they can ADC and give enough time for the Rabisu reps to land. But the Rabisu is webbed and grappled. It's just bent in too close, and I'm not sure entirely what has got webs on it. It's got webbed by a Scorp Navy issue. How did it get that close?
Well, everybody knows that Scorpions are one of the fastest and most difficult to avoid battleships in the entire game. So it clearly caught him.
It's going 900. I don't know how it got on top of this Rabisu. Maybe the Rabisu was too hyper focused on the Nurgles that it just bent on top of this Navy Scorpion. And as we can see, it's starting to drop now. That's not going to survive long enough.
No, and it's a lot of this too is just waiting for these rep drones. Once they're gone, there's nothing coming. Surprisingly enough, I'm not seeing a lot of smart bombs coming to clear rep drones, but Rabises are incredibly tanky. They're incredibly, incredibly tanky, but nothing is going to survive this much DPS being thrown into it, especially when yeah, they're cruise missiles, but they're going to apply fine because it wasn't moving at all. And the Rabisu does get taken out. I'm going to have to say that was a piloting error because you should never, ever get caught by a Navy Scorpion in any ship ever.
Yeah, and we're now seeing the Rattlesnake finally drop down into low shields. I am shocked that at no point was this Osprey shot at all, because with absolutions you can apply really well at long range. Why they didn't shoot this Osprey and wipe it off the field so there are no reps, I do not know. But the Rattlesnake's now dropping into low shields. They might be able to break it with the 2 absolution damage, but they're losing an absolution already. It's in low hull now.
It is, and I guess something to look at is the Rattlesnake is worth 23 points, so if they're able to take it down, there's still a chance here. But unfortunately, well, Osprey reps are completely terrible, and I have no idea why they brought one. They're not quite as terrible as the DPS of a single absolution.
Yes, and it looks like the esports team are actually being an esports team and doing really well in this competition. Their Rattlesnake is only just starting to drop now, but they've applied that much damage and done that much death dealt that they, regardless of even if this Rattlesnake goes down, it looks like they've got this match in the bag.
I don't think the Rattlesnake's going to go down. I think this Absolution is just going to die first. And at that point, I mean, yeah, 2 Nurgles, they have ramping DPS, but that's not going to kill a Rattlesnake. It's one of the tankier battleships in the entire game, especially with the resist nerf. The innate resistance bonuses on a Rattlesnake were not.
I believe the Rattlesnake has reloaded its Ansel and it's starting to boost back up now, which is unfortunate because that stops any chance of it ever dying.
Yeah, I think you were right too. Like all they had to do was go after that Osprey because it's not a tanky ship, but they instead decided to drive their Bisu into a Scorpion Navy issue, which that's a play.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a little bit in shock that this match went as one-sided as it did. But at the moment, we're seeing the Rattlesnakes stay alive. We're just seeing this esports team just slowly catch down things and clear up the grid very slowly. We've seen a really nice piloting from these ships just to survive long enough. None of the small things, other than chess player, have died on this team. And the chess player dived in to try and get tackles so these cruisers could apply, which eventually didn't actually matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you can trick someone into flying into you, like why bother, right? But it's interesting. I think that so something to note because I've been kind of keeping an eye on Twitch chat, which is something you should never ever do, by the way. But I also love you guys. We have seen now a couple different of these sort of unique ships, and I know that it's not quite as cool as oh, somebody just lost a 300 billion Escribisu, but Brotherhood of Spacers is still in the game. You do have to lose 2 matches to be kicked out of the tournament, and they can no longer use the Rabisu. So to a degree, it does absolutely matter that their ship died, because I mean, if they died in a Rabisu, like what are they going to do when they actually have to fly like one of the weaker Logi ships, right?
Yeah. I think to mention is that every win gets you skins in this, so this could be a 5-head play where Brotherhood of Spaces are losing the first match on purpose to go through the losers bracket and get the most amount of skins possible. Unfortunately, they've lost their wildcard ship and can't bring it for the rest of the tournament.
And 100-2 is, I think that's the second biggest sweep we've seen so far. So, chess player, you failed the perfect game, but that's okay because you died so your team could win. And Esports Petopia is going to be moving on, and Brotherhood of Spacers is going to be mourning the loss of the Rabisu.